noon hour is here.
Check it out.
And you're locked on to Utah's highest rated, most listened to sports radio station.
It's my station. It's my station.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome in. It is Hans and Scotty. It is a beautiful Friday post-Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving day. I hope the family was happy. I hope the food was good. I hope the kids weren't too crazy or too loud. I hope parents and family members didn't get too deep into politics. I hope that you were able to share some smiles and laugh and some good food. I know I was able
Why
to.
are you looking at me when you said that?
I'm just hoping everything went good.
Thanksgiving was great.
Did you get the video from Scotty? It looked like Thanksgiving went well for Scotty.
I don't think I got a video from Scotty. I think he only sent that to you.
Well, he sent me a video, and he said, I see why you bought homes here in Florida. I bought a couple of houses there in Florida 3 years ago, and I actually rent them out and go out and enjoy my time in Florida. I love Florida. So at some point, I'm not going to be a full-time.
You own like a whole neighborhood, don't you?
No, just a couple of houses.
Like 7. Like that's pretty much a whole.
It's not 7, it's 2.
A lot.
But they do have nice microwaves. And at some point, I do plan on being a part-time resident out in Florida. But Scotty sent me a video from Orlando, and the sun is shining, and the palm trees are beautiful. The scenery, the surroundings are just gorgeous, just looked incredible.
And this was yesterday.
Yeah. And then, of course,
because when I talked to him today, he said it's cold here. He said it's like 65.
Today, the storm came in and it's dropping rain. Yesterday was gorgeous. And so he sent that video. And then his Utah State Aggies go out and beat up the St. Bonaventure Bonnies. Didn't really beat them up.
The Fighting Woj.
But apparently, St. Bonaventure is quite a bit better than we thought. Like, it's actually not a bad team. And Mason Falslev continues to be a total stud. 2 of 5 from 3. Ended up with 12 rebounds, 15 points. That kid's pretty impressive. He's good.
He's one of my favorites to watch. Like when we watched him in that game against, it was Boise State.
It was Boise State.
Like the energy that guy brings, It's like every team needs a guy like that.
Ian Martinez's shot was off a little bit. Remember Ian Martinez too, Lloyd? He was aggressive out there. His shot was a little bit off, but he went out and did some good things. And Drake Allen, who I know pretty well, actually grew up with my kids. He's playing extremely well. So it was nice. Good to see Utah State go out and get a win. We'll see if they can find a way to get another one. But it's a double dose of Utah State today. So you're going to get Scotty G on the Utah State basketball call side of things, and then you've got a little bit of Utah State versus Colorado State that's going to be kicking off at 1:30. So you can pay attention to that one as well.
Let me ask you this.
It'd be nice for them to get a win to finish off the season.
Yeah, you get a lot of Utah State today. You get some basketball. You get some football. You get some basketball.
Yep.
What'd you think of the football, the NFL, on Thanksgiving?
I thought it was very mediocre. A lot of mediocrity. Nothing that really got me overly excited yesterday. I don't know about you, but for me, it just was just an okay type day.
That first game was pretty good.
First game was all right.
Yeah, the first game was pretty good. That second game, first
game was all right. I thought the Bears coming back, but the way that game ended was.
I was sitting there, I was like, wait, what are you doing? You have a timeout sitting there waiting. And of course, it cost him his job. But I was just like, wow, that is some bad clock management right there.
But the only thing I took from the Giants and Cowboys is they're both really bad. They're just both bad teams. And then
really bad.
Packers got a big lead. I think it was at 24-3 or something like that at the half, and I turned it off. But, we had 28 people out for Thanksgiving, and you just
background noise?
Yeah, you just hold on and you get into the conversations and try to pay attention to family. And so I don't really dig into the football thing. I did for the Bears-Lions. I sat down. I'm like,
it was early.
I want to see this Lions team because this is a possible contender. And they had a nice big first half lead and let the Bears kind of come and get back into this thing. Williams took another shot to the legs, tried to extend a play on the outside, and he took another shot. So I don't know. I'm sure he's waking up extremely sore today and pretty miserable. But we've got some good football. Utah State kicking off against Colorado State. I really do hope that this coaching staff can find one more win. And then we got Utah, who's going to be kicking off a game here at about 6 o'clock. And then we got a couple of games that are actually in action right now. Boise State and Oregon State. Colorado and Oklahoma State are rocking and rolling. And the one and only Frank Dolce made his way here into studio. Frank, on a post-Thanksgiving, how you doing, bud?
Hey, Hans. Hey, I'm so sorry. I was under the impression that I know I'm not kidding. I was under the impression that Coach Mack and Alema were going to be here today.
They are.
Yeah, one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I got that all confused. I got that all.
Are you being serious?
Yeah. So I'm so sorry, and I had just family issues to deal with today. So I'm sorry I'm a little late.
Doesn't matter.
I couldn't be more excited.
We take
about
Frank
being
when
here.
we can get Frank.
Stop it.
Whenever you can actually show up, we
Stop
take it with whatever we get.
Anytime we can get Frank, we'll take Frank. How you doing, bud? How was
One time I was trying to do a show on a Tuesday, but it was supposed to be a Thursday, and then I couldn't do it.
Don't do that.
Don't
we
start
did it.
peeling old scabs.
Hey, what's your favorite item on your Thanksgiving plate? What's your favorite item?
Well, mine yesterday?
Yeah.
Mine yesterday was the prime rib.
Oh, you had prime rib?
Yeah, we tried.
Not turkey?
We did the Bar W beef prime rib.
Oh, that sounds good.
It was
I think
phenomenal. It's my favorite cut of beef.
Oh, I've never done that. Did you smoke it?
Nope, actually did. I got the flat top extremely hot. I seared it with pepper, salt, and garlic salt. A really hard, hot seal on it on the outside, and then threw it in the oven and
seared it and then baked it.
Seared it hard, hot and hard.
Seared hard.
Got a nice thick crust on it. And then threw it in, baked it to 118.
Did you say you ended up doing both? You did the prime rib and a turkey, or just the prime rib?
Who, me?
Yeah, you did both, didn't you?
No, just the prime rib.
Just a prime rib.
Yeah, and Ken and Missy brought the ham. So we did a candied ham and some prime rib. And it was the prime rib. Lloyd, it's the best, most soft, most delicious prime rib I've ever tasted. Big thanks to Bar W Beef. Go to barwbeef.com. They grow it right here in Nephi. And it is absolutely.
I'm going to have to try that.
Oh, it's incredible beef.
I'm going to do that.
And they just kill it. They're so good at what they do.
Okay, so the prime rib was your favorite item on the...
Yeah, second favorite is family tradition, a cream cheese topping on a ginger cookie, a soft ginger cookie.
That was after the...
Yeah,
okay.
But you're saying just full plate, right?
But you did those are non-traditional favorites, I would think.
The third one that came in was probably the most traditional one of all of them, and it was the candied yam. So the sliced yam with the toasted marshmallows on
Okay, yeah, that's okay, that's good. I smoked a turkey. I've smoked a turkey for the last several years, and that turned out really nice.
Did you brine it?
Oh yeah. Remember, I told you I was going to brine it with the Brian Alba brine recipe.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And then you and Scotty rolled your eyes.
And it turned out good.
It was great.
How long did the smoke go?
I smoked it for about, I started at 9 a.m. and I took it off about 3:30ish.
Okay.
Just before 4 o'clock.
So that's like a 18-pound turkey.
Yep. Yeah. But you cut the back out.
Yep.
And so it cooks a little faster that way.
And a little more even.
Anyway, it was really good.
Lloyd, did you do that? Did you spatchcock it? Or
No, I did not spatchcock.
You just threw the full turkey out there?
Yeah.
I usually do the full turkey, too, because I stuff it with stuffing.
Yeah.
We had stuffing
didn't
in
stuff
there.
it. Everybody else was making stuffing, so we didn't do stuffing.
No stuffing in the turkey? Well, you can't stuff it.
You can't stuff it when you spatchcock it, but...
how many people did you host?
25. We didn't host. It was my in-laws who hosted, but we provided a turkey and some sides and some stuff.
Lloyd, how many were at your house?
I think it was about 15.
Man. Wow. It's fun. It's fun. It's the best part of Thanksgiving.
It's my favorite holiday.
Honestly, getting the family together. I was telling Lloyd, my dad, I have never... So my dad does like cowboy poetry and
Does he write it or recite it?
He's musical. He recites it.
Uh-huh.
Do you know who Dan Reeves is? Old singer.
The coach?
Nope. No.
That's what I was saying. I was like, is this a trick question? Yeah, I know Dan Reeves.
No,
Of course.
we
He's
talk
a great
here.
coach. Jeez.
Did I miss up the name? It's Reeves. His last name's Reeves.
Christopher Reeves.
No.
Oh,
no.
Superman.
Nope.
Yeah, I
not
know
him.
Superman.
I've heard of him.
Singer from many, many years ago.
A singer.
From many years ago.
Burl Ives? Is that what you're thinking?
No,
I
not
don't
Ives. Not Ives. Not Conway Twitty. No. But in the Conway
Hold
Twitty
on,
era,
I'll get the answer, folks.
it's something Reeves.
Hold on. Really?
Yeah, and he does a lot of that. It's like storytelling music, which is just amazing.
Uh-huh.
And my dad did
yeah.
2 songs that were
So
freaking dynamite.
When he does that, is it more like he
talks it.
Yeah, you're
while
they're strumming.
While there's a guitar in the back.
Yeah, I really enjoy that as well. You know, you made me think of something. I don't want to get off track here, but if you haven't watched the Netflix Wyatt Earp documentary,
Did you say you don't want to get off track? You don't mean to get off track here?
I didn't say that.
I've already watched that documentary.
You have
The four or 5 episodes.
6 episodes.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
In the meantime, I like how they go in the meantime, and then they'll go to like a completely different branch of why the trade and that trail was so important.
Exactly.
And knocking over that stagecoach in that moment.
Why it was so meaningful and it led to everything else.
And how it all went back to Washington. And, you've got the powers that be that are enforcing the silver and gold trade.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you don't mess that up. It's a brilliant documentary. It's one of my favorite I've ever watched.
Who knew J.P. Morgan was at all involved, related to the whole Wyatt Earp saga?
And the thing that Hollywood has not covered deep enough was the sheriff that was currently...
Behan?
Yes, that was currently in place, and the relationship between the sheriff and Wyatt.
Yes, and the woman.
And then the woman...
Josephine, right?
Yeah,
the actress.
Josephine was the girlfriend of the sheriff, and Wyatt had an affair with her.
Yes.
And how...
Bunch of scoundrels.
How intertwined
absolutely.
all that was. And how they were intertwined with the gang that was trying to undo the whole... It really is a great documentary.
It is.
If you're sitting around on a Thanksgiving Friday,
oh man,
it's worth pulling.
You can binge that 6 episodes back to back.
What made you bring that up?
Because you said cowboy poetry, and then it made me think of
Wyatt Earp.
You wondering why
Jim Reeves?
You wondering why he takes us off track of what we're actually
He
talking about?
said cowboy poetry.
You're wondering why he would detour us?
I bet 97% of the audience listening said why when he said cowboy poetry, then they thought, oh, that Wyatt Earp documentary is pretty good.
Jim Reeves. Jim Reeves.
Yeah. Now that
why didn't you say so?
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I've got sports. We do a sports show, so it's always on my mind.
But you're not just sports.
But I am pretty much.
You're not.
I'm familiar
You're
with
more.
Jim Reeves.
Pretty much 24/7.
You're as well-rounded of a person that more rounded than anybody else I know.
Well,
Do you mean that physically?
I appreciate that. Hey, speaking of which, Frank, have you've been putting on weight lately?
Yes, I have.
And there it is.
What's happened?
I've changed my workout.
Did your bike break?
No, I've changed my workout.
I've noticed that you're
One might say you look
softer.
One might say you look plump.
No, it's not softer. That's not softer.
No, it's softer.
Feel those calves. Those calves are not soft.
You can't.
Not only did you eat muffins yesterday, you built one on the top of your pants.
You can't bring me down. You can't bring me down.
Hey, by the way, Boise State
post-Thanksgiving roast.
Up 24-7 right now on Oregon State. There's just not. Right now, we don't have the close games that we're hoping for, right? Colorado was blowing out. And let me pull this up because I just want to make sure. But Colorado in the first half was blowing out Oregon State.
Oklahoma State.
Or Oklahoma State. Oregon State is currently getting blown out by Boise State. All right, so Colorado's up 28-0 on Oklahoma State. And
Colorado blew it against Kansas. But Kansas had taken down. That's the third top 25 team in a row that they took down. So Kansas has something going. Yeah, Kansas has something going, but Colorado blew it in that game.
Kansas finishes up tomorrow against Baylor, and if they beat Baylor, it would be Iowa State, BYU, Colorado, Baylor to finish.
Yeah,
and get bowl eligible.
They will. Okay, so listen, I I confiscated your story. Jim Reeves.
Yeah.
What happened? Why did you ask me about Jim Reeves if I just knew?
He's the one that writes the music. My dad.
Oh, gotcha.
My dad does.
Okay.
You asked if my dad
full
wrote the
circle.
music. Jim Reeves actually writes it.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Would you rather be, and this we can take this back to football too, because it's relevant to what is happening with the team where I have loyalties this year. But would you rather be the performer or the person who wrote it, the person who produced it?
Performer.
You'd rather be the performer.
Yeah, I think performer. Yeah, because, like, for instance, I don't know how many people actually know that Nothing Compares to You with Sinead O'Connor was actually written by Prince. Now, I think some probably do, but many don't.
You and I know that.
And, I went to a concert recently, and the guy was up there talking about all the songs he had written.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I recognized every one of them.
Everyone, but not the guy.
And then I didn't recognize the guy or the music he was singing.
Pat, go ahead.
And then he goes, you know what? Let's do this, because I could tell nobody really knows any of the music that I'm doing. I'm going to just sing a couple that I wrote that others performed. And he did 3 songs that were like
bangers.
top 25s in the charts. And we're like, you wrote that?
Yeah,
that's talented.
Patsy Cline. One of her hits, this is a long time ago, is called Crazy.
Yeah.
Do you know who wrote that? Willie Nelson.
Yeah, that would
nobody
make sense.
knows that.
That would make sense, but I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. And Neil Diamond was one of the big writers, too. Neil wrote a lot of music for a lot of different people.
Well, I think, I know. And I have rekindled my love of Neil Diamond. How funny is
Have you
that?
really?
Yeah. I don't know how it came back. I was listening to the radio and one of his songs came on. My kids were in the car and I was like, oh my gosh, this is Neil Diamond. And they were like, who is this? And then I said, you don't know Neil Diamond. And here we go.
It's an emotional draw. It is extremely emotional draw. Well, Frank Dolce sitting in studio today. We are going to have Football Fridays kick up. Ron McBride, Alima Harrington, they're going to join us. We'll have some fun with that. And we'll have Frank, who's going to sit in with us throughout the day. And we've also got the Warehouse, who's going to be joining us today. Great Tom Curl.
The Curls.
The great Tom Curl. Warehouse is the sponsor of today's Football Friday, so we appreciate the Warehouse and everything that they've done. We'll talk to Tom here in just a moment. And we do have a lot of sports on tap. Like, it is a day jam-packed college football. When we come back, we're going to talk some Utah football as Utah gets ready to finish off their season against UCF, which that's going to be a very good game. But the Warehouse and Tom Curl, if you have not heard us talking about the Warehouse, this is where you go and you can find furniture. You can find anything that you're looking for. Beds. You can find amazing kitchen tables. Mm-hmm. You can find
couches, love seats, easy chairs,
love seats. And it's at 1825 South, 300 West, right there in Salt Lake City. Get out there and check them out. And, you've heard Tom Curl talking about it. He has done an amazing job for so many years. And he's going to be joining us today. What's funny is I'm just looking at the website. It says, tune in Fridays from 3 to 6 on 1280 and listen to the coaches, players, and the best sports commentary talent in the Intermountain area. You can find that right there on their website. But you can get 10% off if you just sign up to receive discounts on the website. The Warehouse, get out there, check them out. Great furniture, amazing prices. We come back, we get into this Utah UCF game coming up next.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now, it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
G-Bang!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz.
Woo!
Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Friday, and we're talking football non-stop. All football, all the time. This is another edition of Football Friday with Hans Olsen and Scotty G. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, Hans and Scotty. Scotty is out in Orlando. He's getting ready for another basketball game. Utah State got the win yesterday, and they're going to be back in action today against North Texas at 4:30. So Scotty's getting ready for that. Utah State's also in action on the football field. They'll be finishing up their season with Colorado State. They'll be wrapping things up, and I'm hoping that they can put together a win against Colorado State. I'd love to see this coaching staff find a way to get this win, because it'd be a great finish for them. It's been tough to watch Utah State go through all this, Frank.
They've gone through a lot. They've had a lot of quarterback injury issues they've had to deal with. I mean, poor, Bryson Barnes, man.
Yeah.
What?
Bryson going to go show out against Colorado State.
You know
tonight.
what? I would say I don't know of another guy in my experience, especially personal experience, has been so solid above the shoulders in managing difficult situations like that, because it's not easy to be the starter and then not the starter and then immediately thrown back into action because the guy is starting again ahead of you and then he gets injured in the middle of a game. Like, that's not an easy situation to deal with. And the hardest part of that is preparing each week like you're the starter.
Yeah.
And he has accomplished that better than I don't know of anybody else.
I don't either, actually. Just to be ready and jump onto the scene. You know, Spencer Petras goes out last week against San Diego State. What was that, like midway through the second quarter, Lloyd, when Petras went out? Or was it beginning part of the second quarter? Beginning part of the second? So listen to this, Frank. So Petras starts this game, goes out like the beginning part of the second quarter.
Right.
Bryson Barnes jumps on the field, and he goes for 140 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. 193 yards and a touchdown on the ground.
Right. And that's the thing.
And grabs National Offensive Player of the Week awards.
Why not?
But do you remember back to the last bowl season? Do you remember his game against Northwestern? It was rough, man.
It was rough.
It was bad.
It didn't look good.
No.
Not at all.
It was bad. It was the worst
No.
I'd seen Bryson look, and I thought, okay, well, and because going into this Utah State season, the whole time I'm like, I think he would actually be a dominant Mount West Conference quarterback.
Yeah.
And they were all sold on Spencer Petras. He's an Iowa product. He'd played 4 years. I think he'd been at Iowa for 5 years. This was kind of an extended season for Petras. I think he's a 2018 recruit like Cam Rising. Like he'd spent a year.
That's right.
He'd spent a year out of the game, and I'm thinking, okay, well, they're sold on Petras. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, Bryson could go get you wins. And he jumped on the scene, got him win. And if he starts and plays and they beat Colorado State, they finish winning 4 of their last 5. And then you've got to stop and look and say, all right, so where are we with this coaching search? And what did they just put together when all the chips were on the table and the teams that they're playing need those wins? And here Utah State is clicking along, getting those wins. If they finish 5-7, winning 4 of their last 5, I think that's a pretty impressive mark.
That's pretty darn good. We had a chance to call that first game of the season for Utah State. They played Robert Morris. And in that very first game, Petras got hurt.
Yeah.
And here comes Bryson Barnes to save the day. And another way.
I forgot about that.
It was like the very first play of the game. All of a sudden, he takes off for 64 yards.
Yeah.
Or something. And then they won that game. So I'm glad for Bryson Barnes. I wish he could have stayed at the U.
Yeah.
How meaningful, as we get into this, how meaningful would have Bryson Barnes have been for Utah this year at the quarterback position? There's got to be, I'll let you think about that. To me, there's got to be 2 or 3 wins because Bryson Barnes is at the quarterback position if he's playing at the U.
What was his biggest limitation? It was throwing the ball.
I would say that was his biggest limitation.
It was accuracy on some routes.
Yeah, a little bit of accuracy and maybe trying to force things that didn't look right. And so...
But he's a full-blown gamer.
But he's a gamer.
So tough.
Yeah.
I think that he probably could have pulled down another win, if not 2.
Just 2? I'm going up to 3.
Up to 3?
Yeah. Because Utah they were within 10 points in at least 3 games, right?
Yeah. Yep, they lost TCU. They lost 13-7. Houston, they lost 17-14. BYU, they lost 22-21. And then Iowa State, they lost 31-28. Let's say he's available for those 4. Maybe he goes 2-2, 3-1. So
yeah,
I think not having Bryson Barnes probably hurt you.
Yeah.
And I do think at the end of the season, when Mekhi Bernard came back for that game against Northwestern, that bowl game, and when Bryson looked stomped out and a little bit done with, I think Utah at that point was like, yeah, we got to move on. We can't have this guy be our outlet. And they trusted even Isaac Wilson. They trusted Sam Heward. They trusted anybody more than Bryson. And I actually think that added to the Bryson Barnes fuel. But the thing is, he's got another year of eligibility. I just don't know if Utah State's going to be able to keep him.
Really? Well, okay. You're saying because they're still going to lean on Petrus, right? No. He's done.
Petrus is
he's done. So
he would be the starter. But if you're a college program out there and you got to get some wins, let's say you're a Big 12 team and you're like, we got to get some wins, and you go look at 140 through the air, 100 and 200 on the ground in a single game, responsible for 4 touchdowns, and did it as a dual threat, and you're like, geez, we got to find wins. You know, what if a Mike Gundy feels like, well, that's what I've got to have in order to restore this Oklahoma State offense, and then they go put the money out there. I hope that he stays at Utah State because they'll start him, and Utah State will get 7 or 8 wins no matter what coach comes in and takes over. Because they've got a lot of offensive firepower coming back next year.
They sure do. And, as much as we've been sitting here singing the praises of Bryson Barnes, I don't know what the market is for him. I don't think there's a market for him.
It's not at the highest level.
In the Big 12, I'm looking across the Big 12, and I don't know where I would insert him and think that you gain a significant advantage for a one-year guy. And part of the issue with Bryson Barnes is, like, you look at Petrus and you watch him warm up and he throws the ball and you think, without knowing anything else, you think, that guy looks like a quarterback. Yeah. And Bryson Barnes doesn't come across the same way. He comes across as scrappy and all of those good things. So I don't know what the market is for Bryson Barnes. Maybe
he's like the Mike McDaniel of coaching. Right?
Is that what he is?
Like you look at Mike McDaniel on the sideline and you're like,
he doesn't.
People listen to him?
Did people pay attention?
No, maybe they don't because they've been playing poorly.
If you're going to do that, where would you put Dillingham on that list of people listen to him? I mean, you can't argue with the things that team's accomplished this year.
I know, but
he's
gotten under their skin.
I watch him on the sidelines, and I'm just like, what the heck? He doesn't. To me, he doesn't look the part. But
But
they've done something. They have something going.
somebody's listening to him.
Someone's listening.
Somebody's absolutely listening to him.
No doubt.
Well, Frank, we've got this Utah game that's going to be kicking off at 6 o'clock tonight.
Yes.
Taking on UCF. That's a team that I've already called their game. I called it there in Orlando. I know what the UCF Knights are all about. They're an interesting team. They've got one of the best running backs in the conference, one of the best running backs in the country. They've had all kinds of quarterback problems, going from KJ Jefferson to Ja'Cory Brown to now this kid Dylan Risk, who came in against BYU and showed some pretty darn good skill, and then the following week followed it up against Arizona, was extremely dominant, and then has kind of petered off ever since. I think people kind of figured out what makes him tick. But R.J. Harvey continues to be one of the most dominant running backs in the country. And then they got their daunted wide receiver back, Kobe Hudson. So when BYU was playing UCF, I had done kind of a highlight package on this Kobe Hudson. He was their best target. He was by far their best receiver. And I'm like, this is a guy you got to take out of the game. First snap of the game, he gets hurt and he's out of the game. And it was like UCF couldn't do anything. When you took that out and coaches just piled the box, they knew Ja'Cory Brown was going to try to really run on him. And I thought that Jay Hill did a really good job of stalling him out. So UCF, I think, is too one-dimensional, and I think that they're very beatable, and I expect Utah to beat them. But this is also a team that's not playing for anything. These are two teams that are going home after this game. UCF's 4-7, and Utah doesn't have a bowl game on the horizon. It's kind of the who cares game, but it's stupid. Frank, you know this as well as I know it. You hear people talking about it and saying it doesn't mean anything game, and I always think those people are just stupid.
Crazy.
They're just dumb because they don't understand the impact and how much depth of meaning there really is in this game for the University of Utah, for the program.
Absolutely.
And when people say this game doesn't have any meaning, go take a look at the potential impact it has on this staff. There might be two offensive coaches right now that feel like we're not coming back. We're not coming back, but I'm damn well going to have my guys playing well in this game. You got guys that are sophomores right now that are getting their first snaps. You got guys that are juniors right now that haven't played really well, and they're wondering if they're going to have their starting spot their senior year. You got so many different interworking parts and dynamics that when I hear people say, "Oh, it's a meaningless game," yeah, you say it. You say it because it's an easy thing to say. But there's actually a lot of meaning in a game like this. People are trying to position for their jobs, for their position on the depth chart, for their face and their name, for NFL film, for the scouts. This still has a tremendous amount of meaning, and I really don't care one way or the other. I'm not trying to prop this game up. I'm just telling you, to a lot of people, there's great significance in this game.
Well, I think you're right. I think you make a really good point about that. In everything outside of the players on the field actually playing, there's meaning for this game in lots of different ways. Coaching staffs, guys who are trying to make a name for themselves or earn some more time or set themselves up for the following year or whatever it is. And I don't even want to talk about the transfer portal, but that's probably part of it too. But just even if you just look at the guys on the field, have you ever entered a contest where you didn't try to win? Like, has that ever been something that you did? Like, yeah, this doesn't mean I'm going to go in. This doesn't mean much to me. I'm not going to try and win. Have you ever done that, especially in a college football game?
No.
I mean, I think a lot of us have a hard time doing that when you're just out playing your turkey bowl game.
You don't want to lose.
No. So that storyline almost never resonates with me. I think the only way I could think about that is you have like Alabama 3/4 of the way. I'm using Alabama as an example, 3/4 of the way through the year or whatever. Let's just say there's an undefeated team and they're 3/4 of the way through the year and they're going to get into the playoffs and they already know it and everything. And then that's kind of like, well, whatever. We're going to play a bunch of different guys and but even that, it's not like you're going out there and you don't have interest in winning the game or a significant interest in winning the game. If you have a culture and your team is looking at this game like, oh, I'm glad the season's over. I just want to get through this one and not get hurt.
Clean house.
Oh, exactly.
Clean house.
Exactly, because that is not the right culture.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's what's going on at Utah.
I don't think so.
I think that there's some things that have happened this year that have probably shook foundations and changed the trajectory, the path of maybe coaches and some players. But I don't think that culture is completely melted down there. So I expect them to show up and really compete tonight against UCF.
Yeah.
I expect them to win this game. If UCF goes out and wins this game and sends Utah into the postseason with a loss, then you have to start to count it and you say, okay, 4-8, huh? You finished that season 4-8, and you finished that season on an 8-game winning streak or losing streak. Which, Lloyd, did you tell me that they have not had an 8-game losing streak since when?
Forever.
Never happened.
Forever, never.
It's never happened. I told you they had a
7-game losing streak one time, but I think they only had 7 games.
Well, no, that
Wasn't
7-game
it?
actually happened in '86. '86 was that they had that was the last time they had a 6-game, but it was also the last time they had a 7-game. But that 8-game, they had a season. It was in the 40s or 50s where they lost. They only had one win in each of their 2 seasons, like 44 and then 45. But it was in the middle. That win.
You finished 4-8.
Those are war years too.
You finished 4-8 with a loss out the door to a 4-7, which would go to a 5-7 UCF team. I can't. There are things that you can't come back from after that.
I have so many questions I want to ask you. Keep making all these points, and now I'm going to write a few things down. But let me ask you this one first. Is there anything? What kind of pen you gave me a pen that is non-functioning?
I didn't give you that pen.
I can't even write anything down.
I would never give you a non-functioning pen.
Well, if only you had
gave me
a computer that you could type stuff on.
I do have a computer. I don't know how to type into it, but
I've got a pen right here, bud. You can borrow a functioning pen.
Let me ask you this question first. Okay?
All right.
Is there anything to the 2 time zone thing?
Yeah, I think there is. I hated going 2 time zones to play. It was miserable to me. Hey, hang on to those other questions. We'll get back out to those. Lima Harrington's in the studio. Ron McBride will be here momentarily. It's a big football Friday with Frank Dolce and the whole crew right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
I'm going to do like Ute fans 15 years ago. I'm getting a Big 12 tat and flags. I love this conference.
I'll bet you get an ultra big flag.
Ute fans embrace it. You just did what BYU did. You struggled your first year in a big-time conference. See what you do next year.
And for a Ute fan, that was pretty mean.
It's not mean. It's a fact. They struggled in a big-time conference. How is that mean?
You know how it is.
I don't.
See, they were in a big-time conference, so there's in the transition.
I didn't say they had to make a transition. I just said they struggled in a big-time conference. I give opinion and I get ripped. And then I give a black and white fact and you say that's pretty mean.
Yeah, it was implied. We heard it.
Imply this. What are you talking about?
Imply this is always a good comeback.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Friday, and we're talking football non-stop. All football, all the time. This is another edition of Football Friday with Hans Olsen and Scotty G. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome in. It is a football Friday. We're going to really kick things off here at 1 o'clock. Coach Mack is headed up the stairs, so we'll have Coach Mack. Lima Harrington is in studio with us. And Alima Harrington right now is full of hope. Frank Dolce sitting in for Scotty G, doing the hard work, the heavy lifting. But Alima comes in and there's some scenarios for the Big 12 championship game for BYU. So Alima's feeling it. How hopeful are you, Alima?
Wait a second. It's not 1
Right there,
o'clock yet. How does Alima walk in here and confiscate the show? He walked in doing the popcorn thing and...
Because look how beautiful the man is.
Hey, why are you being like that? I heard you on the radio on my way in. You're a Thursday guy. You're not a Friday guy. And I'm like, Frank's in. I get to see Frank.
That's exactly what
I came in. I gave you a big hug.
You did, and happy Thanksgiving. I'm so happy to see you. But listen, we have 3 minutes left of me.
Of me and my time?
I have several thoughts to get through in this last 3 minutes.
Me and my time.
Let me just tell you something. I get to do high school football games with Alima twice a week during the high school football season. And if you don't listen to those games, you're missing out because there is nobody better at making... Well, high school football is entertaining anyway, but there is nobody better who lends a voice to high school football and the story that's happening than that guy right there.
You're kind.
It's the truth.
You're kind.
I'm not kidding. My wife says when I walk into the door, like, Alima was really good tonight. That was it. And I'm just, yeah.
You're like...
And I'm just like... Really?
What am I, chopped liver over here?
Yeah.
Oh, that happens to me.
Oh, we have a great time, though. We really do. And we love calling games where we got these local kids and stars like your son, like Rock. Man, it's a thrill. And one of the things that I think is part of our motivation is for the players outside, like for Rock, it would be for his recruiting tape. For the other kids that are never going to play another down of high school or football in the rest of their lives, right? This is meaningful. You guys are talking about meaningful games and how the Utah UCF game might not be meaningful. For these high school players, every game is meaningful. We all played at the high school level and the college level, and that high school... It doesn't get more pure than that, right? And so we try to put a positive stamp on every game.
You guys do an amazing job, and I was texting both of you on that final game where it's fun because I've had an opportunity to listen into you guys, and you make it fun.
Yeah.
You definitely hit the names and you definitely hit the moments, but there's some fun banter back and forth that makes the whole broadcast fun. How many years have you guys been doing this now?
It's over a decade now. So
that's a long time. I jumped in later, so I've been about 5 or 6 years.
I think I've been doing. I mean, if I go back to how long I've been calling high school games, I go back to Joe Lomu and Fia at Hunter against Jordan in a semifinal that I still remember calling that game. So that's maybe 2004, 2005, and so it's 2 decades.
2 decades of great stuff. Love it. We're going to jump into football Fridays. We'll jump into this BYU game coming up tomorrow. I'll be calling the call with this one. BYU has to get a win against Houston to keep their Big 12 championship game hopes brightly shining and alive. But I think before that game is finished, we're going to have a perfect, clear picture of what the possibilities are. We've got Football Fridays kicking off officially coming up next.